we're going to start right at the top. We each made a list, and we actually, we're not going to start at the top. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way down. So, first player at number 12 on this list is Trey McBride from the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I hear you all out there. He has not done really anything this season to make anyone think that he is going to be something in the future. But here is the thing. He was an amazing player in college. Colorado State coming out, caught 1,100 yards worth of balls there, and it was an amazing prospect coming in. The problem was when he got drafted to the Cardinals, Zach Ertz already existed. Zach Ertz is still a good tight end in the league. So there was really no use for Trey McBride just yet. And when he got hurt, we thought Trey McBride would slot right in and take over the position and then end up looking like Isaiah Likely did for a couple weeks, where we just like, oh, this guy's coming. And it just hasn't quite flourished. However, we have not given up hope.
So I actually, just a heads up here, we all put him pretty decently. I think we were like 11, 11, 12 on him. 11, 12, 12, my apologies. I had him the highest, and I had Zach Ertz right behind him. And I understand Zach Ertz is a little older, but at the same time, Zach Ertz is on contract next year and potentially the year following. So Trey McBride, a bit of a stretch to put on here because of the fact that Ertz will be there next year. And this is more of a futures thing. So hopefully if you have Trey McBride, you're not sitting there like needing him right this moment, but this is his time to shine. He gets a chance to show something, especially if they can make a little bit of a run here and maybe potentially make it into the playoffs. Maybe Trey McBride will be a playoff machine. It's a stretch for them to make the playoffs at this point though, too. So really just need to show something at the end of the season here. I think that we all saw Trey McBride and we were a little bummed to see him go to the Cardinals though. So
we were absolutely bummed to see him go to the Cardinals. He is an absolute stud. I mean, the way I see it, Ertz's contract, I mean, he's 32. He's in contract till he's 36, I believe. And it's a pretty big contract. If Cliff gets fired or if Kyler gets traded or something, which I think all those options are on the table, I think Ertz is probably out the door in some way or fashion.
They can't cut him next year is the problem.
Well, they can't cut him, but I mean, something to do.
They can not use them, but they're not going to waste $14 million on a tight end that they're paying that much either. So
right, and I totally understand that. But Trey McBride, I could see him working his way into a prominent role sooner rather than later. So
well, I think they could very well use him. I mean, you have Marquise as a field stretcher, DeAndre Hopkins kind of a field stretcher / jump ball specialist. And then you have these two guys, which you could use Trey McBride and Zach Ertz over the middle.
It's true. They can both be used at the same time.
Why not? I just this is what I don't understand about the NFL. And I'm sure NFL purists are like, well, are you raising their fists, yelling at clouds? Yeah. Two tight ends. What do you think this is? The New England Patriots of 2011? But I don't see why we can't. It's a matchup nightmare. I don't know. Maybe
also, Hopkins and freaking Marquise Brown on each side of them too. The four of them together can make a great pairing, and we will see some Trey McBride. Yes. It just might be. We might have to wait a little bit.
Please, Arizona Cardinals.
This is his chance.
And go get him an offensive coordinator that can actually use these weapons to their advantage. This should be like the Chiefs at this point. Good Lord. Whatever. Cliff is the first coach I want fired this offseason. And there's a couple others I think need to be fired, but Cliff needs to be number one.
Can we get Nathaniel Hackett the hell out of there, please?
Well, yeah, Nathaniel Hackett is definitely
going to
be out there. He can't hack it. All right, on to number 11. Speaking of potentially fired coaches, on to number 11, David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. Joe, you want to talk about Mr. Njoku?
Yeah, David Njoku, he's an absolute monster of a human, 6'4", 246. He's 26 years old, and they just got a guy named Deshaun Watson back who has shown us in the past that he is an all-star caliber quarterback. Njoku is going to be tied to him. He had a mini breakout this year that Kyle awesomely called. I did not see it happening, but I think he's just going to continue to be more and more involved in this offense going forward as they mold into what we think the Cleveland Browns were going to be before the season. You get Amari Cooper on the outside, Nick Chubb on there. You see People Jones breaking out. So this offense is really starting to kind of come together. And if we can get Watson to play like he did 2 years ago, you're getting a really good tight end tied to a really good quarterback for a long time. And that's what we want in Dynasty.
I don't mean to keep playing Mr. Negative. I promise it gets better after this, but I will say the only downfall to Njoku right now is Watson has not historically utilized his tight ends very well. So I would like to see what's going to happen. I don't believe did he play last week or did he get injured during the game? No, he did not play last week.
Maybe Hopkins is just a tight end killer. Maybe that's what we're seeing.
And maybe that's the problem. We don't know. We haven't seen Watson play, and he obviously did not look good. Check more for our game previews. We'll chat about him soon. But I mean, it's just we'll see with Njoku. I mean, Kyle was right. I was like top 10 tight end my ass, and here he is. He looks phenomenal. I think he's a top 5, which is a little bit of a stretch.
Well, no, he said top 8, and had he been healthy the entire season, he would have been a top 8 tight end. He's number 12 right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think the Njoku thing, like the only part I'm curious with is I think Stefanski's going to be gone after the season, so that means probably a new offensive coordinator will be put in there. And then Harrison Bryant is decent. Like he is a player that is going to steal some work from Njoku. Not that he is deserved, but Harrison Bryant is usable some weeks when he's, Njoku's not out there, for example, or it's just,
I thought the same thing. He caught one ball
situations.
last week. I played him last week thinking that there'd be something. But once again, Watson.
I was about to say, last week I think we can just scratch off. It was not a good game for any player on the Cleveland Browns offense. But nevertheless, there we go. That's 2 coaches that are going to get fired, and I think 11 and 12 there. So let's go on to,
a third coach that's going to be fired.
No, come on now.
This is a bright young future in this player. Number 10, we have Cole Kmet with the Chicago Bears.
So I'm going to take this, Joe. We'll let you get into this in a second, but I will say one thing about Cole Kmet. This was exciting for all of us. Second year in the year, it's in the league. It seems like it's like the 3rd or 4th. I feel like I've been waiting on this breakout forever. It is just really nice. I guess this is his 3rd year in the year. It's too experienced. Looked phenomenal. And even Fields, who's not throwing the ball, but like 18 times, is finding Cole Kmet. He's getting touchdowns. He's getting targets. He's getting yards. He's doing it all. And this also comes down to the fact that they don't really have a whole lot of wide receivers. So look for Cole Kmet to just smash this. He is tight end 5 on the year. And I think we've been waiting for this. We've been preaching this for weeks and years and probably even longer than anyone else has even thought about the name Cole Kmet, mainly due to Joe. Thanks for turning me on to Cole Kmet. Anything you want to add here, bud?
I mean, he continues the long list of Notre Dame tight ends that have had a ton of success in the NFL. The Bears are going to add. They're going to have a better line next year. They have a ton of cap space. They have draft picks for once. So this team's growing. The Chicago Bears are a team you want to be acquiring right now because of the fact that everyone's off of them on that one. So the biggest thing with Cole Kmet that we've seen this year is he is being used in the red zone heavily. He's a big part of the offense down there, and I don't see that changing even with different wide receivers out there. I mean, we definitely need improvement at wide receiver, but Cole Kmet, I mean, another monster of a target in the red zone. I see that continuing. Get him now.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing, and honestly, we may be too low on Cole Kmet by the time it's all said and done, but like they just adapted what Baltimore is doing with Lamar and Mark Andrews, and it's not the exact same, but it's similar-ish as far as like how to utilize Kmet in the offense, and it's worked out swimmingly as long as Fields has been out there and healthy and playing the whole game. So, I mean, I don't see why this probably is just the beginning of what could be a very good long career for Kmet and a very useful fantasy asset. And at 10, he should probably be higher. I think we can all admit.
Yeah, we all had him pretty evenly, 10, 10, and 11. So, I mean, I think it's just, let's see what the Bears do first before we start
ceiling,
getting
I think, is higher than 10.
His ceiling's absolutely higher.
Oh, 100%.
There's a lot of good tight ends further down on this list too. So
yeah, it does get a lot better. 11 and 12 were, I wouldn't say stretches, but it's like, we're bottom of the barrel or top of the barrel at the very least. So
that's for sure. All right, on to number 9, and that is Greg Dulcich of the Denver Broncos. I'll take this one because it's unfortunate that he is put with Russell Wilson. His rookie season has gone better than we expected, but it's almost like had we seen him with a better quarterback, I think he would be an absolute monster this season. His receiving has been steady for the whole time. His snaps have been up. And every time they go after and actually utilize Greg Dulcich in the offense, it seems like he is the bright spot among all of the disappointment at wide receiver position. Greg Dulcich is a guy that you can use, and I think going forward they're going to have to find ways to put him in the offense. It was never Albert O. PFF tried their hardest to make him a top 5 dynasty tight end, but here we have Greg Dulcich, an actual top 10 dynasty tight end for Denver. It just was never going to be Albert O.
Yeah, this is one of those guys that we just didn't know about. Nobody thought that Dulcich was going to be the guy. I mean, he was just one of those bottom of the dynasty draft tight ends that you grab and stash and put on your taxi squad. Fortunately, that was me in a couple leagues, and I'm pretty excited about that. But no, Dulcich, he looks phenomenal. And like you said, whenever he's out there and actually getting targets, I mean, yeah, there's a little lull in his season. He started basically week 6, had 3 straight good weeks after the bye. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happens in the Broncos locker room at all. I don't know what happened that week. I don't know if they took off, went on a boat like the Giants did that one time.
They don't know what's happening in the
exactly, but they came back to it last week, 8 targets, and he looked like he deserved all of them and probably more. So,
yeah, I mean, Dulcich is one of those guys. You got him, like you said, bottom of the barrel, basement value, and he's only going to get more. And he looks just absolutely awesome with the long hair running down the field. It is going to be interesting to see if Wilson and Judy and Sutton, and when Tim Patrick's back, how that all works out. If Wilson does take another step with this offense, if they get the backfield figured out, there's a lot going on here, but Dulcich is definitely going to be a big piece going forward.
I'm just happy to see Russ actually using a tight end. It felt like when he was in Seattle, he always was not using the tight end, but maybe not utilizing them to the best of their ability.
He killed Jimmy Graham's career. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I wasn't going to say it out loud, but yes, he killed Jimmy Graham's career after a very promising start with the Saints. But, we don't hold grudges here on OP. I mean, we kind of do, but we don't really. So on to number 8, and that is the Cowboys tight end, Dak Prescott's, favorite, one of his favorite targets. Yes, it's probably his best friend in the locker room, and that is 8, Dalton Schultz.
So Dalton Schultz with Dak Prescott is maybe arguably could be in the conversation other than Kelce, the number 2 tight end in the league. I mean, it's ridiculous how much he gets the ball. And honestly, they haven't really needed to use him that much this year. So what he's done since he's come back has been one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, it's wild to see him at tight end 19 after missing almost half the year. I think he'd easily be in the top 10 if he were in the whole year, and he could have been further. But I mean, Dak was out as well, so that didn't help anything. But even his first game with Dak, it's just you see the difference between Dak and then without. It's just not the same. So obviously, he also got injured there, but I still think he was holding out just until Dak got back at that point.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz could easily be higher on this list. The Cowboys' offense as a whole, I mean, we assume they're going to add a wide receiver. They're so good, and if they somehow get better, you just worry about how much they're going to be able to use Dalton Schultz going forward in the future here. So, yeah, if you got him on your team, you're very happy.
Yeah,
he is the Wubby.
I think one of these next maybe 2 or 3 seasons, he'll probably have a top 5 tight end finish, and whoever takes him in their redraft leagues, I mean, you're going to have a league winner here because he just hasn't, quite had that season, the season that we're thinking of him being, an all-time tight end season. But I think it's coming, and that's why I have him ranked this high, because I just believe, that there's a season coming here where he's going to make an argument for, hey, is Dalton Schultz a top tight end in the league? I think the conversation's coming.
Yeah, you actually do have him higher than all of us. I had him at 7. Joe had him at 9. You had him at 5. So we all love Dalton Schultz. It's just varying degrees. This is one of the ones where we start differing once we get closer to the top.
Well, if I didn't know that he was Dak Prescott's best friend, then I wouldn't have put him that high. But it seems like he is. It clearly isn't CD, even though he's begun to use CD in an appropriate way. But we could clearly tell earlier in the season they were not best friends. So on to number 7, and probably a personal favorite of this podcast for sure. Pittsburgh Steelers tight end Pyke Friarmouth.
So I'm going to hop in on Patty F. Just watch this dude play football. He has the offense isn't there. Kenny Pickett's not there yet. We saw an end of the career Roethlisberger last year. This guy is not even approached what his ceiling could be. I would say that he maybe has a Kelce-like ceiling, just the way he plays and his size and his speed out there. So this is more the reason I have him as high as I do is I just want to put an exclamation mark on the fact that you need to put on your calendars that you need to acquire this dude in the offseason. And really, I think the breakout's coming. He's 24. Only room for growth here. It just watch him play. That's my only thing. Go back and watch his tape, guys. It is ridiculous. Completely
agree. During the draft, if you got Dolce and you want Friarmouth, throw Dolce in like a third or second out there. See what you can get. Like, I mean, you can package some things together, and people don't know what they have in Friarmouth, especially when they see those touchdown numbers being lower this year. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of touchdowns being scored on Pittsburgh as a whole, but not to mention the fact that it's just, I mean, this man is a monster, and he's going to continue to get better. You see him as tight end 4 right now in PPR, and it's going to continue.
Well, and tight end, tight end 4 in PPR, and that's with only scoring 1 touchdown this entire season. If you imagine, even if he had 4 or 5, maybe even 6 touchdowns, we're talking like a top 2 tight end in the league, maybe. Well, probably not above Andrews, but maybe with an injury. I don't know. But I just point wise, what you're going to get from Pyke Friarmouth is very consistent, and that is really what you're after in this position going forward. I think gone are the days. I think that there's going to be 5 or 6 like receiving tight ends that you just have to like sell out for to get at the top of your draft. Like we're seeing, Kyle Pitts has been kind of the line of demarcation of the entire position. We'll get to him in a second, but Kyle Pitts was getting taken very high in redraft leagues. I think the days of that are over now because of Kyle Pitts. I think we can call it Pitts syndrome or something like that.
No. It's going to keep happening. It happens every year.
It might, but I'm saying like Pyke Friarmouth should probably be one of those guys that goes pretty high in the draft, but you're going to get him late because everybody's like, oh, the Steelers, oh, it's Pyke Friarmouth. Who the hell is that? Like, he's just not – he's flying under the radar just so much that like right now you can get him cheap. And he has, like he's already proven, a top 5 tight end potential.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking through the tight ends, sorry, Josh, but looking through the tight ends, I mean, if you really want to go through your list and say who could possibly be the next Kelce, who has that ability to kind of fill that number 1 tight end role moving forward and stuff, obviously the potential of, I mean, Mark Andrews is there already. Kelce is getting older. I would put Muth right at 3 or 2 as far as just potential for growth in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Friarmouth, the thing is, if you drafted him in redraft, you're probably having a pretty good season right now too. So you're sitting there because you had a tight end all year who's been scoring at least consistently, had 1 bad game here or there, and not a lot of tight ends have done that. We haven't even gotten to anyone that's really done it consistently this year. So,
right. All right, on to number 6, and that is my San Francisco 49ers. Just kidding. But San Francisco 49ers, George Kittle.
Did Baker go to 49ers? Oh, no, right. Sorry.
He did not. So I'll take George Kittle just because I kind of had him lower. Obviously, I just don't trust Kyle Shanahan. I'll be the negative. Josh has been negative. I'll be negative. I don't trust Kyle Shanahan and how he's used him consistently. We've all known and seen what George Kittle is and what he can do. And when Kyle Shanahan goes out of his way to use him in the offense, he is usually tied in 1 in each of those weeks, and he's proven his ability, his receiving. He runs like a gazelle with the hair flying behind him. It's amazing to watch. It's fun to watch him play. But the unfortunate position that Kyle Shanahan's put us in is that you can't trust anyone on this offense. And I think next season, albeit if they bring in, like you all were trying to talk earlier about Brady, if they bring in someone like that, maybe I'll like him a little bit more. But just with Trey Lance, I can't trust him because I don't trust Shanahan.
I don't trust Trey Lance, but the fact that he's tight end 7 on the league and not playing until week 3 and barely from those first few weeks playing, getting back into the swing of things, this man is an absolute monster. Even having some off weeks, he's had 3 20-point performances, and it's just phenomenal to watch Kittle. I feel like Kittle's flying under the radar in general. I think he should be a lot higher, in my opinion. I think I had him the highest. I had him at number 4. Joe had him at 5, and you had him at 9. So Kittle is one of those guys. It doesn't matter if he's on San Francisco or he's on the next team that he goes to. Kittle's got 3, 4, 5 more years in him, and that's why he's higher for me than I think most people.
Yeah, I mean, George Kittle's just steady. He's always going to be there. He's as athletic as they come. He's always going to be featured or at least used in the offense. The injuries recently have become a little bit more of an issue as he gets older, so that's definitely something to monitor on. I mean, I had him at 5, so I'm a big fan of the Kittle.
Big fan of the Kittle.
Big fan of the Kittle.
All right, we finally at the top 5, and obviously Josh has been chomping at the bit to get to this one, but number 5 is Dallas Goddard of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, so this is why I let me just talk about where he's ranked between the three of us. Joe and Billy both have him at 7. I have him at number 3, and there's a reason why he's at number 3. Yes, he's a little older, but the thing about Goddard is there's no one behind him, as we've seen these last 3 weeks without him. There is obviously a role in this offense that the Eagles are trying to fill right now. They're doing it well, fortunately, with the combination of Quez Watkins, the tight ends, and the running backs. But Dallas Goddard has a role on this offense with Jalen Hurts, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. He is part of the trio, and a lot of tight ends don't get to be part of that trio. That's why he needs to be higher up this list. I had him above a couple people we're about to talk about. But Goddard is going to have that role. He's one of the most consistent tight ends in the league right now under Travis Kelce. Actually, he is the most consistent tight end under Travis Kelce. I believe he was tight end 3 before he got injured, and now he's at tight end 6 after not playing a few games. So this man deserves a lot more credit than 7. I was pretty irritated when I heard 7 from both these guys. So go ahead, talk shit on Dallas Goddard. I don't know how you want
to give it, or you want me to?
You give it, Billy.
Okay, that's fine. No, it's nothing against Goddard. I really don't have any real ill will towards him. I just believe his ceiling. I think that this is his ceiling, which he's gotten to number 3 this year. Given, I just think that the people that we put up before him all have a potentially higher ceiling than him, and it's not that there's anything wrong with Goddard. I think when he comes back, he's going to be fantastic. I do think Philly will address tight end in the draft. They don't have a lot of holes on their offense, but I think the tight end will definitely be one that they look into. Not because they need to replace Goddard or anything, but just I think they were going to put somebody in that spot.
The fact that he was getting 500 yards a season with Ertz there, that was just phenomenal. And now he got the reins last year basically, and he hasn't looked back, and he's not going to.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
this is the same thing. Nothing against Goddard. Same thing I said about A.J. Brown. It's just there's so many pieces on this offense. That's why I had Kittle lower too. It's the fact that he's very steady, and he has been this year. Is it going to keep up? I don't know. But if you want to make the argument that Dallas Goddard's way more valuable than T.J. Hockenson, I could hear it. If you want to hear a bunch of stuff, I don't have anything against Dallas Goddard. That's just how my list fell.
That's fair.
Yeah.
One of the most consistent tight ends in fantasy
5's
football.
Not bad. All right, calm down, Homer.
5's up there. He's there because of me. You're welcome.
On to a far superior tight end who definitely should be ahead of Dallas Goddard. And that's number 4, Kyle Pitts. Josh is not going to talk for a little bit of this one. It's just going to be me and Joe. So here's the thing about Kyle Pitts, and I know what everybody is saying out there about he's not consistent. His catch rate's a nightmare. Marcus Mariota sucks. Matt Ryan sucked last year. Like they're not giving him the best opportunity to succeed. Drake London was the best wide receiver in this draft class. Has he looked like it? No. And that is because this offense sucks. They have Cordell Patterson, who like an ageless wonder out there, but they're not even using him properly. So it's just frustrating to watch the Falcons play football knowing that they could be the best team in the NFC South, but they just refuse to actually be competent at the offensive position, like any of them. 0 offensive positions are being used appropriately, and I don't know. It's just a pathetic excuse for an offense. And once they get a quarterback in there, once they get an actual offensive coordinator in there that knows what the hell they're doing, I think this offense will run through Kyle Pitts, will run through Drake London, and these values that we thought he was going to be. Not that he wasn't that bad. He wasn't bad last year. I think going forward in the future, we are only going to see the ascension of Kyle Pitts. 22 years old. He's got the whole world in front of him.
Yeah. And I'm with you there. If Kyle Pitts was on any 20, there are like 4 teams that I don't think he would do anything different on, but like 28 other teams in the league, he would be in conversation for, right up there with Andrews, behind Kelce on that one. He is an absolute stud athlete, and any other team would figure out a way to just get him the ball every single play. Arthur Smith, the Falcons, you guys are absolutely screwing us, and change what you're doing immediately, please.
Can I talk now?
I'm going to mute you real quick.
I actually had him. I muted myself because I knew I would interject. I had him at tight end 6. I just want to put him there. I did put him a lot higher. And the reason is because there will probably be a future with him in it. 3 and 4 is what you guys have him at. So your beliefs aren't as high as you like to hope. But the problem is with Kyle Pitts is there's no foreseeable future as of right now. They could draft a quarterback. What if he gets injured? What if they don't? I don't know. What if they draft a bust? What if they draft the next Josh Rosen? There's a problem here with me for Kyle Pitts is I am not trading for Kyle Pitts. I'm trading away Kyle Pitts. I hope you did that already before. Hopefully you listened to me before this season or during the season. There's a potential here. He has the potential. We all know that. We all see that. My problem with him was never that he's not good. My problem is that he was drafted too high in everything. In regular football and dynasty and in redraft. It's is what it is. And here he is. Hopefully that this rights the ship next year. And hopefully I can don that Kyle Pitts jersey shirt that you guys bought me as a joke. And it actually means something. But right now it's a bad joke. If I wear it, somebody's going to laugh at me. I don't want to be laughed at in the streets.
People laugh at you anyway.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing. But that's not.
You'll like this one. Before the season, I traded Pitts for Dallas Goddard in a first round pick in 2023. So to see how people, I mean, they're going to be down on him, but he did kind of start to break out this year very, very slightly. We saw a little glimpse of it. Very slightly.
One game?
We're going to count 2 good games there before he got hurt.
3 catches for a touchdown and 19 yards is not a good game.
Outside of the Eagles, man. If you watch the games, you saw him play well. But people are still outrageously overvaluing Pitts from any of these other tight ends. So you do bring up a good point that you could move and acquire some really good assets in the future if you moved on from Pitts.
If you can buy low on him, go get him right now. Like that.
Yeah, you can buy low, absolutely. If you can sell high, absolutely.
If they're done, if they're like, oh, this is never going to turn around, I'm just going to trade him. Go ahead and go snatch him now, but do not trade a like Pyke Friarmouth in a second for Pitts. Like, don't do that. That is silly stuff. Don't do that.
Any of the last 3 tight ends we talked about, do not trade them for Pitts. Keep those. If you want to trade Dolce and Kmet, or I don't even know about Kmet, don't do that either. You can trade Dolce or Njoku and Schultz or something like
Trey
that.
McBride, like by all means, go for it. That is a perfectly tradable.
Yeah, when Trey McBride has his one breakout game this year, because it's coming, flip him for Pitts.
But I mean, if somebody is completely done with Pitts and they're like, you know what, I don't want him on my team. He's not useful. I don't want him. Go try to leverage that person into trading him to you for absolutely nothing, because he is worth something. And as soon as they install a good offense around him, or not even a good offense, just a quarterback, just one singular quarterback on the team that can throw the football appropriately, then we're going to actually get to see the Kyle Pitts value.
My only, I want to end this with one other thing. My only other thing about Pitts is, sure, Mariota's looked bad, but you'd think that Pitts would at least be in the game plan, or Pitts would make Mariota look better. That didn't happen. I don't know whether he gave up.
Arthur Smith came out and said, we're not playing fantasy football. We don't even care, Arthur Smith, that you're not playing fantasy football. We
know your best option.
You are literally not playing offense well. Like, we can.
There are some games where they don't even use Drake London.
Not the time or the place, but Drake London actually does not look good. And not only because of that, he has dropped a lot of balls.
Okay.
He doesn't expect him to be accurate.
We're not going to keep on this. Marcus Mariota can barely complete. I think me or you or Joe, any of us could look better than Marcus Mariota's looked, and I am. All
right, we'll get to this in the game previews. Let's keep it going.
Yes. All right. On to number 3. We had to get the Kyle Pitts discussion out, but number 3 is TJ Hockenson of the Minnesota Vikings.
So there's 2 TJ Hockensons here. This is the Detroit Lions Hockenson that you're seeing on the screen if you're watching the YouTube video. We got 7, 8, 7, 5, 10, 39, 1. Traded. 8, Minnesota Vikings, TJ Hockenson. 8, 11, 16, 11, 8, 15, 7. 2 differences here. Consistency on Minnesota. I am actually very happy to see Minnesota actually using TJ Hockenson too.
And it's something that I do not see changing. I mean, he just is such a presence in the middle of the field, and that's clearly what they're using him for, is the short ones. They're not, with all the attention that Justin Jefferson grabs, and Thielen's on the tail end of his career, but even if they get another receiver in there, all the attention that those guys command, Hockenson's going to be open all the time. So he's going to be a target sponge. I love TJ Hockenson.
I think this is going to be a two-man situation with Hockenson on one side, or, Hockenson getting his share and then Jefferson getting his share. And that's just like how this offense is going to go. I actually put him at number 2 because I don't think we've even touched the floor of Hockenson. I think Hockenson can end up better than, I think next season is going to be the season TJ Hockenson finishes ahead of Travis Kelce. And I think the crown will be, officially passed. Not this season. Obviously, we see what it is. But I'm saying next season, I think TJ Hockenson and our number 1 player will take over the Travis Kelce crown. But Hockenson, young kid, looks amazing. He's finally in an offense that is appropriate and using him in that way. He's on a good team. So it's just awesome to see Hockenson finally getting realized for what his worth should be.
I don't know about next year, but definitely if there's going to be someone to pass the torch to, it looks like it's going to be TJ Hawk. Me and Joe had him at number 5 and 4, so we were right in the middle of the pack. Probably should have been higher on him looking back, but 2, I love your strategy there, Billy, putting him up at 2 and already talking about him dethroning the king.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, on to the actual number 2 in our list, and that is the ageless wonder for the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce.
Do we even have to talk about this other than his
I don't really
age?
know what more we need to say.
He's older, but he's shown absolutely zero signs of throwing down. He's still hurling motherfuckers out there. Travis Kelce is the truth, and until he shows us otherwise, you are immediately heads and tails above your competition if you have this man in your lineup. Absolutely ridiculous. How many 3 touchdown games does he have this year? Like 3 of them?
Too many.
It's obnoxious what Travis Kelce does for your team. Just the advantage that he gives your team in that tight end slot. You're comfortable. You're happy. Ride it till the wheels fall off. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could trade him.
It's really seeing all those ones there. I actually had, this is my number 1 tight end for Dynasty. And you want to know why? Because Dynasty is also about the now. And I don't see it stopping at this point. Obviously this year has been just ungodly and he'll probably break some sort of record, maybe his own for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I don't see it stopping. There's no one there to take the torch, and Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid, the 3 of them are no one's parting from that 3. It is the Holy Trinity. They were sad to see Tyreek go, but they couldn't afford him. Kelce is a lifelong Chief. He's not going anywhere. There's no way Kansas City can let him go.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Travis Kelce still probably got 2 or 3 seasons in him, even him tailing off would be better than about 6 or 7 it's still tight end 6 or 7 in the league. He is so far and above every other tight end that's playing football right now. It's just comical to look at his stats versus everyone else. And here's the thing, every year in the offseason, and this podcast is a victim to it as well, we say, how are the Chiefs going to throw on offense? How are they going to move the ball? What wide receiver is going to break out? How are they going to do this? And it seems to be the same formula every year, and it does not matter that everyone knows it's coming because nobody can freaking stop it. And it's happening every single season.
The answer is so simple. It's right there. It's Travis Kelce.
Yes, It literally, we try to make puzzles and do backflips to figure out if Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to be worth it this year. And no, it's Kelce and it's the other guys. That's really what the receiving core is on that team. All right, on to number 1. This is the crown jewel that we have of tight end because we think he is just now hitting his prime for the Baltimore Ravens, and that is Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely love Mark Andrews, and I think the thing about Mark Andrews and why he's so similar to Kelce is because he's the only target on the team. At this point, he's the only player on the team, even with Lamar out for a week or 2, maybe more. Mark Andrews is literally still the only person on the team, and the thing is, he's still gonna do it. They're still gonna feature him in the offense. I did have Kelce above him for the simple fact that Kelce is just the GOAT at the moment. but there's nothing to hate on about Mark Andrews. There's going to be some down weeks. It's no one's Travis Kelce. They can't put up 50 every point every week. So Mark Andrews, not a whole lot to say here. And I know why he's number one in Billy's eyes. See that Oklahoma staring on the right side there.
Hey, I loved big Mark Andrews when he was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's number one for, I would say, safety purposes. It's hard to put a 33-year-old tight end at number one, but Mark Andrews has a very defined role in that offense. Tyler Huntley still got 9 points with him last week. I'm sorry, but they're going to have to put another piece in this offense to help Mark Andrews, and that will help his stats ultimately. But
I still can't believe they traded Marquise Brown. I know it's not the time or the place, but
it is hard to believe. Obviously Mark Andrews is everything that we were hoping that he would be. I still cannot believe that season they drafted Hayden Hurst above Mark Andrews. They actually drafted both of them. I was absolutely floored because I was like, these two guys aren't even remotely similar. So I'm glad that shook out the way that it should.
Hayden Hurst is actually playing pretty decent football though right now. So obviously
I'm saying
not as
in
good as
that
Mark
offense,
Andrews.
it was clear one of them was going to break out and the other one wasn't. I'm saying though, then in this particular instance, Travis Kelce is the number one option on Kansas City. Mark Andrews is the number one option on the Ravens. That is why they're going to be 1-2 in almost everybody's rankings from here on out. I had Hockenson up there, but it's hard to argue when you're literally arguing against the number one options for teams. And here's the other thing. Most years, this year has not been one of them, but most years, the Baltimore Ravens have a very, very amazing high-flying offense, and the Chiefs also have amazing high-flying offense. And it's running through tight ends. I don't know who needs to tell this to every other team in the NFL that, like, hey, if you have a freak of nature playing at the tight end position, you're going to be pretty darn good. The Eagles, for example, have using Goddard in a similar, situation
and utilized Ertz for years. I mean, they've always been on the tight end.
Exactly, but I'm saying like they've been a good offense, but this year in particular, they were, number one offense for a long time. The Lions at the beginning of the season, number one offense, utilizing a tight end as the wide receiver one. I just these aren't hard concepts. I just don't get why more teams don't understand that if you have a tight end as either your first option or your second option, your team's going to be really good because that matchup, they're going to be covered by a linebacker. That's a nightmare for a linebacker to cover a 6'6" or 6'5" gigantic human that's trying to catch a football.
They've tried these hybrid safety linebackers too to help cover tight ends, and we've seen how that's gone. It hasn't gone.
Isaiah Simmons.
They still have a ridiculous matchup on there, but I mean, ultimately, you can put a lot of these guys in any order, and we did. Tight end's an absolute war zone this year. But if you have any, Trey McBride, we're going to wait on him. But if you got 11 through 1 on our list here, you're very happy with what you have. You are absolutely set at tight end, and be very happy with any of these guys right now.
Exactly. All right.
Because there are people that have it a lot worse.
We won't keep people up too much longer. I know that this has already gone. This segment's already been 40 minutes, so we won't deep dive into the tight ends we left out. But I'll just mention a few names, and if you guys have something to comment on them about, just let me know. We got Darren Waller, Dawson Knox, Daniel Bellinger, Gerald Everett, Mike Gesicki, Jelani Woods, Cade Otton. Any of those guys that you think maybe we are too low on right now?
The problem
wouldn't make our list.
Yeah, well, the problem I might put Cade Otton in there if I knew Brady was going to play for 2 more years or be on Tampa Bay for 2 more years because he's looking really phenomenal. I could have swapped him out with McBride. He's actually playing right now. He's actually playing pretty well. Although Brate is still on that team too, so there's a whole headache there.
Yeah,
and then,
I think the one on this list that I wish wouldn't have gotten a catastrophic eye injury, and that's Daniel Bellinger. He probably would have been 13 on my list had that not happened. I just need to see what and how his game is going to adapt after that. He did come back last week, which is, absolutely a Herculean effort. But just like, I probably would have put him 13 had I known exactly how the rest of his career is going to play out after that injury.
You want to see what he does?
I do want to see.
I did have Bellinger at 13. He's clearly part of that offense. I mean, they literally locked him in. He has a role. He was gone. He came back. He's right back in that role. Really like him. Jelani Woods, he had a 100-yard game this year. He's had multiple 2-touchdown games now. Absolute monster of a human being. Cade Otton has looked really good. I'm got to put Okonkwo in there, man. He finally had a good game last week. I've been hyping this dude up all year. He's someone to keep an eye on for sure. But there's lots of guys in here, and guys in Dynasty, just always acquire tight ends. Keep them rolling. Throw them on the taxi squad. Throw them on the end of your bench, because you never know when an injury is going to really unlock kind of a diamond in the rough. It's one of those positions that doesn't get the love from the fantasy analyst masses. So they kind of come out of nowhere. And the more you can get these guys on your roster, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, and especially in Dynasty, I draft like 3 or 4 tight ends each year. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I had Dawson Knox at one point. I dropped him for Brian Burns, actually, randomly. Fun fact is my alarm on my phone still says drop Knox for Burns, because I woke up at like 3 a.m. to make that pickup. But, I mean, you pick up Jelani Woods. You pick up Dolce was a perfect example of that. There are these tight ends at the end of the list because most tight ends don't end up with a whole lot of yards in college. So people see the stats and they go, oh, there's that one good tight end, aka Trey McBride. Like, oh my God. And his stats don't even really pop off the page in college stats. So it's just one of those things. Pick up a couple tight ends and stash them. You never know what can happen.